This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Monday, March 1st. Welcome to Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at VOA headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on and appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Relatives of more than 300 girls abducted by gunmen from their boarding school in northwest Nigeria endured an agonizing wait for news amid rumors that they had been released, while security forces continued their search on Sunday. An armed gang kidnapped 317 girls from the government Girls Science Secondary School in the town of Jangebe in Zamfara state. The raid in Zamfara state was the second such kidnapping in little over a week in the northwest of the country, where schools have become targets for mass kidnapping for ransom. On Saturday, gunmen released 27 teenage boys who had been kidnapped from their school on February 17 in neighboring Niger state. Zamfara police have worked alongside the army in a search and rescue operation since Friday. 3 years ago, Boko Haram abducted 110 girls from a school in Dapchi, Nigeria. One girl, Leah Sharibu, remains in captivity. Her parents remain hopeful she will be freed, but say the government is doing nothing to ensure her release. Parse Dabang reports from Yola, Nigeria.
In February 2018, Boko Haram fighters abducted 110 girls from their dormitory at the Government Girls Science and Technical College in Dapchi, located in Nigeria's Yobe state. A month later, the government negotiated the release of most of the girls, but one was left behind. That was Leah Sharibu, a Christian schoolgirl aged 14 at the time of her capture. One of the girls who was released said Boko Haram held her back because she refused to convert to Islam. Leah's mother says they are still counting on the promises made by government of President Muhammadu Buhari regarding her release.
Out
of the 110 girls abducted, it's only my daughter that has not been released. Why did he not adopt the same means he used in gaining the release of the others to free my girl? They negotiated for the release of those kidnapped in Katsina State. Why wouldn't they negotiate for my daughter's release? Just one girl.
Security expert Lionel Rollins says the government is caught in a bind when it comes to rescuing Leah.
The only way, though, they can do that is by offering money. Because we can't go and storm the Sambisa forest and, with a forceful rescue. So you have to give money in return for her, or give up some prisoners in return for Leah. The problem with that, though, is if Leah is released and the government paid for her release, all the parents who have children who were kidnapped by Boko Haram, who are also held in the Sambisa, they would ask, well, what about me?
There were reports in 2019 that Leah was delivered of a baby boy in captivity, but her father says that is not true. He is calling on President Buhari to ensure Leah's safe return.
He has promised several times to the family. He promised the nation, he promised the whole world that his administration will do his possible best to see that my daughter return home safely. So I'm pleading to him, being a father, a grandfather, to do his possible best to see my daughter return home safely. Please, I'm begging him.
President Muhammadu Buhari had in 2019 said his administration will ensure the release of all persons in captivity of Boko Haram and other terror groups across the country. Boko Haram alone is believed to be holding more than 100 captives, including some of the Chibok girls the group abducted 7 years ago. Percy Dabang for VOA News, Yola, Nigeria.
At least 2 people were killed after security forces went to arrest Chad's opposition candidate Yaya Dillo at his home on Sunday morning, according to Dillo and the government. Dillo, who plans to run against President Idris Deby in a presidential election in April, told Reuters he was attacked at home by members of the Presidential Guard and that 5 family members were killed, including his mother. However, the government said in a statement that security forces went to Dilo's home to arrest him after he refused to respond to 2 judicial mandates and were met with armed resistance. It did not say what the mandates were concerning. According to government, 2 people were killed and 5 wounded in the ensuing fight, including 3 policemen. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Saturday called on the African Union and other international partners to help address a deepening crisis in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region as he condemned alleged atrocities in the fighting there. Blinken's statement suggested growing frustration with the response so far from Ethiopia and neighboring Eritrea to what America's top diplomat described as a worsening humanitarian crisis. His remarks came a day after Amnesty International released a report accusing Eritrean forces of killing hundreds of civilians in Tigray in a 24-hour period last year, an incident it described as a potential crime against humanity. Eritrea rejected the accusations. On Sunday, Ethiopia's foreign ministry said in a statement that pronouncements by the United States on Ethiopia's internal affairs were regrettable. With internet access increasing in many emerging democracies, using of social media is changing the ways candidates and voters interact. It is also changing how the global nonprofit Carter Center assesses elections. Viewers Ken Farabao reports on how the center is monitoring upcoming elections in Ethiopia.
Parliamentary elections are scheduled to take place across Ethiopia in June. Already, efforts to sway voters are well underway on social media, which democracy activist Befekedu Hailu is closely watching.
The social media has offered us a means of organizing, networking, and expressing ourselves safely, easily, and cheaply. But on the other hand, the political organizations and the political interest groups are using the social media in an organized manner, so they can, disseminate any information in the interest of their political advantage. That is manipulating their followers.
Ethiopian elections loom as unrest flares in its northern Tigray region, where ethnic and political tensions are exploited online. Facebook is the dominant social media platform in the country, although less than 20% of the overall population has internet access.
People disseminate whatever they have heard on the social media through mouth-to-mouth communication.
In October 2019, a disputed Facebook post by a media figure went viral, prompting outrage that led to violence and the deaths of almost 80 people in the Oromia region. The killing of a popular singer in Addis Ababa in 2020 also triggered a wave of posts on the social media site, followed by violence in the capital and beyond. As national elections approach and social media use expands, Hailu says his country is ripe for online disinformation campaigns that could lead to further bloodshed.
They might instigate ethnic clashes and political clashes.
We work with partners to flag activity that could potentially thwart participation, exacerbate tensions, or contribute to unwarranted perceptions that the voting process or the outcome are illegitimate.
Michael Baldessaro is a senior advisor with the Carter Center's Digital Threat Monitoring Team, which recently deployed to Myanmar and Bolivia amid elections. Headed by former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, the center and its partners not only flag dangerous online activity, but press tech companies to act.
We might relay that to Facebook and the Human Rights Policy team, or to our counterparts in the country office to take action. And maybe at that point they take action to either downrank or deplatform that content altogether.
In a 2020 report, the UN outlined the dangers in Ethiopia of unmoderated content on Facebook. The tech giant says it is increasing content moderation staff in Africa, but Hailu says challenges abound in monitoring and moderating enormous amounts of content in different languages from different locations, including from diaspora communities outside the continent.
It requires the effort of multiple organizations and multiple stakeholders.
Hailu's Center for the Advancement of Rights and Democracy, or CARD, is one of several organizations in Ethiopia monitoring online activity. With Carter Center support, CARD has expanded its mission beyond Amharic-only language content in Ethiopia. But Hailu admits it's still an enormous task monitoring users and content, which increases daily, reaching audiences in dozens of languages and dialects throughout Ethiopia. Kane Fairbaugh, VOA News, Chicago.
The United States has urged vaccine-skeptical Tanzania to review evidence on the drugs, saying they work and are one of the tools to fight off the COVID-19 pandemic. U.S. Ambassador to Tanzania Don Wright said he was encouraged that authorities had recently acknowledged COVID-19 as a public health priority and had called on Tanzanians to take basic precautions to fend off the virus. In a statement, he urged the government to start sharing data about testing and cases in order to know if response measures are having the intended impact. He added that the government should employ vaccines as an anti-coronavirus tool. President John Magufuli has been one of the world leaders most skeptical of the efforts to combat the pandemic. He has also cast doubt about the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines. His government has said it has no plans to import vaccines. Drug company officials say they are speeding up delivery of COVID-19 vaccines in the United States. With more vaccine plants online, they say they can produce enough vaccine by the end of July to cover nearly the entire U.S. population. But low-income countries are still at the back of the line. VOA Steve Baragona has more.
In the United States, long waits for scarce shots have plagued the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. But drug company executives told Congress Tuesday that they are ramping up the vaccine supply in a big way. Pfizer Chief Business Officer John Young.
We recognize the need to vaccinate more people more quickly and have worked hard to significantly increase production.
Young said the company has scaled up manufacturing and added production lines.
As a result of these improvements, we expect to increase the number of doses available from approximately 4 to 5 million doses per week at the beginning of February to more than 13 million doses per week by the middle of March.
MODERNA President Stephen Hoge told Congress that his company, too, has greatly increased manufacturing.
We have doubled our monthly deliveries since the end of 2020, and we're aiming to double them again by April to more than 40 million doses a month.
It's gonna be cold.
By the end of July, the two companies together expect to deliver 600 million doses, enough to vaccinate 300 million people with the two-dose vaccines. A third vaccine may be coming online soon. This one from Johnson & Johnson takes only one shot and does not need the extremely cold storage the others do. It's 85% effective against severe disease, slightly less than the other two, but still very good, says Johns Hopkins University vaccine expert William Moss.
And if you can get that with a single dose and a vaccine that you can only need to store at refrigerator temperatures, that's a big plus for many countries.
Johnson & Johnson's vaccine will get a hearing Friday, a key step before approval. Many countries will have to wait for these vaccines, though. Companies may be ramping up manufacturing, but high-income countries have locked down most of it for this year, says the head of the International Rescue Committee's health unit, Mesfin Tassama.
Although this announcement is welcome news, but it will be, down the line, maybe towards the end of 2021 or 2022, for really meaningful volume to be available for low-income countries.
Pfizer sold 40 million doses this year to the World Health Organization-backed COVAX facility for low- and middle-income countries. Johnson & Johnson sold 100 million. More are coming from AstraZeneca, but experts say it will take many more vaccine factories worldwide to reach the world's 7.8 billion people. Steve Baragona, VOA News.
We would like to hear what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, how electric fences protect forests from human destruction in Kenya. Stay with us. Welcome back to Africa 54. The World Trade Organization's first female and first African Director General, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, began work on Monday, ending a 6-month leadership void. She vowed to unblock negotiations on rules to stop overfishing after a long campaign that was derailed in the latter stages by a Trump administration veto. The 66-year-old Nigerian was confirmed as boss last month, pledging to forget business as usual at the body which is struggling to strike new deals and whose arbitration functions are paralyzed. The first day coincides with a meeting of its top decision-making body, the General Council. Its 164 member states will discuss topics such as trade rules on COVID-19 vaccine distribution, which Okonjo-Iweala has identified as a priority. Donald Trump slammed President Joe Biden's policies and reaffirmed leadership of the Republican Party at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Florida on Sunday, his first major speech after leaving office. He hinted but did not confirm whether he will run again in 2024. White House correspondent Patsy Widakuswara has the story.
At the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, in Florida on Sunday, there was no doubt who the attendees revered.
I'm here to support President Trump all the way. He is the best president in my lifetime.
The annual event, previously a platform to highlight conservative ideas, this year was all about Donald Trump. Bucking tradition of former presidents staying out of politics, Trump slammed his successor, President Joe Biden.
Joe Biden has had the most disastrous first month of any president in modern history. That's true. Already the Biden administration has proven that they are anti-jobs, anti-family, anti-borders, anti-energy, anti-women, and anti-science.
Biden spent Sunday at church with family in his hometown in Delaware. The White House has dismissed Trump's speech ahead of CPAC.
We're not going to spend too much time here focused on or talking about President Trump, former President Trump.
Trump hinted but did not confirm that he will run again in 2024. He did make clear he intends to maintain control over the party, despite being criticized by some Republicans for his role in inciting the January 6 riots. Thousands of his supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol as lawmakers certified Biden's electoral victory.
They kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party. We have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party.
Trump repeated threats to unseat Republican lawmakers he deemed insufficiently loyal, including those who voted to impeach him. He did not mention the Capitol riots and continued to push the false narrative that he won the election. This will deepen divisions within the party and drive moderates away, said Director of the Republican Accountability Project, Olivia Troye.
They're looking to find candidates that are more representative of trying to work for what's right for America, right? Doing the right thing for the country, working with Democrats, reaching across the aisle instead of this toxic divisiveness and hatred that sort of has taken hold.
The conference, usually convened in Washington, was held in Florida, a state with looser COVID restrictions. Many attendees did not observe health protocols. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News.
Social distancing due to the coronavirus pandemic closed public gathering places like spas, but a rehabilitation center in Italy left open its thermal pools to patients recovering from the infection. Its directors claim early success in aiding patient recovery. VOA's Arashar Basadi has more.
A day relaxing at the Casciana Spa is not possible right now in the Italian city of Pisa. The coronavirus pandemic keeps people away, but today recovering patients with respiratory issues and difficulty moving feel the benefits of thermal water, believed to be ideal for helping people with severe side effects of COVID-19, the disease caused by the virus. The manager of the rehabilitation center, Eduardo Falzone, says the idea came from observing coronavirus patients.
We particularly noticed that patients who decided to come to our rehabilitation center or hydrotherapy inhalation treatment center told us that after a course of treatment, there were positive results.
Thermal water comes from hot springs, and in addition to warming the ailing joints of patients, staff filter it into respirator masks. Patients then practice breathing through the mask with the thought that thermal water helps purify the respiratory system.
We are aware of the fact that the thermal water resource is a fundamental element for the recovery of joints and the respiratory system, and history has shown us over the centuries that spas have had this function.
Physiotherapists work with patients in indoor pool rooms like this one with warm water and high humidity. But they also use more common practices of massage and exercise to help rehabilitate movement. The luxury area of this spa has been closed to the public due to COVID-19 restrictions, but the physiotherapy center always stayed open even during lockdowns. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
It was 60 years ago when President John F. Kennedy signed an executive order putting in place the Peace Corps, an international volunteer organization to promote peace and friendship. VOA correspondent Maria Madiallo has more on the challenging and rewarding experiences of so many who have taken part over the years.
The vision was born 6 decades ago. Former President John F. Kennedy outlined the program and prospects of young Americans going abroad to not only serve shoulder to shoulder with citizens of other countries, but also learn from them.
What is remarkable is that there is no salary for the members of the Peace Corps. They will go abroad and live on the same standard as people of other countries, but they will work with them 2 or 3 years, devoting part of their lives to peace and to strengthening the ties that bind men together all over the globe.
It was an audacious idea at the time, some said, but fast forward 60 years, the idea has been realized, says John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum Director Alan Price.
It's been a fantastic idea, thanks to the hard work of volunteers and the hard work of host countries. I think that the goal as a long-term strategy to promote peace and friendship has been largely successful.
In the past 60 years, about 241,000 Peace Corps volunteers have served in more than 140 countries worldwide, says Peace Corps Acting Director Carol Spahn, who also noted a variety in the ages of participants.
Peace Corps volunteers range in age from 20 to 85. The bulk of them, tend to be in their 20s. But when I was serving as country director in Malawi, we had one of the oldest serving volunteers at that time. She was 82 years old and just a pistol. She was terrific.
Spahn was 26 when she decided to serve in the Peace Corps in Romania. It was 3 years after the fall of communism. Some people were suspicious, she says, but it was a life-changing experience for her.
What happens with many volunteers is you go into Peace Corps with a certain worldview or some expectations of why things are the way they are. And as you live and work with people that are different from yourselves, you start to ask questions. And when you go in with curiosity, you learn what's behind why things maybe happen differently than they do in your own country, or why people hold certain values, and what that history is.
Dwayne Matthews is also a returnee who spent time in Malawi from 2013 to 2015. He now works for the Department of Housing and Urban Development and is pursuing a PhD program at Washington's Howard University. He's from Little Rock, Arkansas, and had never traveled abroad before.
When I got to Malawi, it was a complete culture shock. That first week or so was terrifying, but then by the time I was leaving Peace Corps, I actually broke down in tears because I had to leave. So it was the best choice I made in my young adult life up to that point.
The youth in Malawi don't have a voice.
While there, he served as a community health advisor who worked on many projects. One of his proudest is securing a nearly $7,000 grant to help build a youth center, a project the community also contributed to, he said.
The community, they actually donated like 30% of what we needed. So the community donated the land, they donated some of the labor, they donated some of the bricks and quarry stone. We actually had money remaining because of the community contribution, which is how we knew this project was going to be sustainable because the community wanted it.
Christopher Destich served in Guatemala from 2018 to 2020. He's now a regional recruiter for the Peace Corps.
I lived in a small Mayan community. There's about 2,000 people in the community that I was in. And I lived with a 3-generation indigenous Mayan family, which was really awesome. Very chaotic, but very loving.
While there, he says he partnered with the Guatemalan Ministry of Agriculture to implement their rural extension program.
So basically, I was working with them to give trainings to increase the capacity of rural Mayan farmers. The objective was to increase their capacity to grow food and thereby decrease things like food insecurity, malnutrition, and hunger.
Both Matthews and Destish say they've learned life lessons and skills they wouldn't have had they not served in the Peace Corps. Mariama Diallo, VOA News, Washington.
A conservation group in Kenya is turning to electric fences as a way to protect Kenya's vital mountain forest while not cutting off local communities, Okonjo-Iweala reports.
Bordering the canopy of Eburu Forest in Kenya's Rift Valley, a line has been drawn. 27 miles of electric fence, to be exact. It's meant to deter illegal loggers and hunters as Kenya seeks to grow its forests and protect vital sources of water.
It's really important because it's solving the conflict between human and wildlife.
Joseph Mutongu is the Eburu Fence Community Manager at Rhino Arc Trust, a private conservation group. It's employing electric fences to protect Kenya's mountain forests, key catchment areas for rain that feeds into rivers. That's as the East African country aims to increase its forest cover from 7% of its landmass in 2015 to 10% by 2022, meeting a standard set by the United Nations. But what of those who are already using the forest? In Eburu, where the fence was first built in 2014, Kasete Kusen is a member of the Hoge community. He says they depended on the forest for honey, wild fruits, and meat. Rhino Arc says it works to deter hunting by focusing on honey and wild fruits, such as through teaching modern beekeeping. Protecting the trees could also help agriculture. Deforestation can disturb local weather patterns, but farmer Joseph Karaoke says there's been more rain since the fence was put up.
You can now see it's green everywhere, meaning the environment has really changed.
Farmers like Karaoke used to grow potatoes in the Eburu forest, but have been relocated to adjacent lands. Rhino Arc estimates its fences protect around 1.4 million acres of Kenya's forests.
That was Okonjo-Iweala of Reuters reporting. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.